I'm not going to go so far as to say that he's the most unbearable character on this show, not when Molly and Cody are unbearably boring. And the most unbearable character on the show to me is Brooklyn. Good morning, fellow General Hospital viewers. Here to give my opinions on yesterday's Wednesday episode of the show. And even though there seemed to be a lot of characters on yesterday, a lot of the storylines that I am not enjoying are taking up the time right now. It feels like with the show lately, you get a strong Monday, you get a strong Friday. But the middle of the week, you really gotta swim through all the bullshit. So let's start with the car crash storyline where Isaiah went to go see the very pregnant Portia to let her know that Justine thinks that he was involved in Jordan's car accident. Isaiah talking about how Justine interrogated him. And Isaiah at least smart enough to realize that it's probably Curtis blaming him. Portia does believe that Isaiah was not the other driver, but also Portia seems to understand why Curtis may suspect it. I didn't love that from Portia, and I just don't love overall how for these characters, the older black characters on the show, it's always them, the show, trying to find a way for these characters to just not get along and have beef with each other. And it's getting tired, and they're coming up with some really bad stories to try and make that be a thing. That's what I see from this. And then when we have to go back to Curtis and Jordan in yesterday's episode, we talk about how Curtis tells Jordan how Isaiah is stonewalling Justine and there's no warrant, and Jordan is asking if that's the end of it, but Curtis says no. Because of this, he's more convinced than ever that Isaiah is guilty, and all I can do is roll my eyes at Curtis. I mean, just a pretty unlikable character right now. I'm not going to go so far as to say that he's the most unbearable character on this show, not when Molly and Cody are unbearably boring. And the most unbearable character on the show to me is Brooklyn. I do not like Brooklyn. I do not like watching Brooklyn. They write her as a saint, but she's somehow even more boring than Molly and Cody to me. But Curtis is getting up there in terms of unbearable to me. They pondered if Isaiah doesn't want to talk because he realized that Jordan was in the accident and he feels bad or he feels guilty. I don't know. But all I know from these scenes is that Jordan still hates her face. She took off her bandage and looked at her scar, which, is kind of a pretty cool scar for someone that used to be a cop, I think. But she is taking that very hard. And I get it. I would take it hard too if I had a big old scar on my face. I would. However, then we go into her saying, I want to find the person who did this to me. Well, look no further than Curtis. He's the one that was getting frisky while you were driving. So this whole thing of them trying to figure out the other driver that didn't even cause the accident doesn't make sense. Stupid storyline, terrible writing. Willow and Nina were at the hospital with Willow upset that Nina may incriminate them both by coming to the hospital to check up on Jack Brennan after Nina jabbed him with the meds that were meant for Drew. Willow wants it to look like Nina has no connection to Jack, but after their talk, Nina still went to go see Jack in his room. But she's hoping that Jack won't remember anything when he does wake up and will think he just had a stroke. Before all that, though, Britt was in Jack's hospital room saying that he is worthless right now and is no help now. It's up to her, and Rocco is her priority to help. And then Britt saw Cullum at the hospital, and Cullum was questioning Nina about Jack's medical crisis and what exactly happened. Why was Jack there? Why was he seeing Willow? And then when Cullum talked to Lucas, Lucas was refusing to give Cullum updates on Jack. And Lucas was really looking at Cullum with some death glares because Britt did tell Lucas that Cullum was probably the one responsible for killing Marco. So Britt saw this was going down between Lucas and Cullum and decided to talk to Lucas about it, saying that if looks could kill, Lucas's face towards Cullum looks that way. And Lucas brought up how Britt is the one that told him that Cullum is probably Marco's murderer. And now Lucas finally had the right logical idea that maybe they should actually tell Sidwell after all that Cullum killed Marco. Because this is what they should have been doing the whole time, but because of plot-driven writing, we've been stuck with characters making stupid decisions so that they can stretch out the story. Lucas is saying that if Sidwell finds out, everything will explode, so they have to make sure, because there's no going back after they tell Sidwell about Cullum. I'm hoping they do it sooner rather than later, though. We are in May sweeps. Let's start moving the plot along. I know they love extreme plot-driven writing on this show, but that was always the most logical thing these characters should do, is pit Cullum and Sidwell against each other. Like, it makes the most sense. Cullum, meanwhile, visited Jack's room, saying that Jack was neutralized without Cullum having to lift a finger, but the stroke may have saved his life because Cullum was considering taking Jack out himself. After Cullum left, that's when Nina went into Jack's room to apologize and wanting Jack to wake up. I did forget that this medication needs to be administered only like every week, I guess, to keep Drew in his state. So I guess the only way they're going to be able to keep Jack in this state is if they put the drug in him. So he should be waking up sooner rather than later. Sidwell was looking at things in the safe, at old pictures of Marco. Lucas came in. This was before Lucas went to the hospital to work. Sidwell was looking at pictures of his son Marco when Marco was younger. Sidwell then went on and on to Lucas about how Marco's assailant may have known him. And Lucas said, yes, it's terrible. Marco may have knew and trusted someone who ended up hurting him. Lucas, of course, referring to Sidwell, because Lucas blames Sidwell getting Marco involved in all of his shady shit for the reason that Marco died in the first place. Meanwhile, Sidwell has the stupid idea that Not-So-Nathan put in his head weeks ago that it could have been Lucas, which is why I've been saying for weeks now that Sidwell has been very stupid about Marco's death in this story. It's another reason why I would like for Sidwell to find out sooner rather than later that Cullum is it, because then maybe Sidwell will be smarter, because I want him to be a smarter villain. If this is going to be the main villain pulling all these strings that all these characters are trying to take down, then he should at least come out as smart, you know. Willow arrived to see Sidwell, though, because Willow has not been a smart villain lately. And Sidwell is upset with her because the meds he gives her are meant for Drew, but somehow it ended up in Jack. Willow thinks they have to stop drugging Drew, but Sidwell doesn't see how that helps their cause. Sidwell says the moment Drew can communicate, Willow is done. Willow tried to go toe-to-toe with Sidwell here, saying that if she is done, then Sidwell is done too, so they both need to keep Drew quiet, basically. Sidwell is saying that he's the one that gives the orders, not her, and that Willow has the most to lose from Drew. When Willow left, Sidwell told Cullum, who arrived, that Willow made a mess by giving the drug to Jack. Cullum says that Jack can't come out of it then because it's too much of a problem. So I don't know if that means Cullum actually is going to try and take out Jack, if they're going to keep drugging Jack. The latter doesn't make sense. So that would just be a plot-driven writing decision, because why would Cullum and Sidwell go through the effort of keeping Jack drugged when it would be easier for them to just kill him off? Because then they can never... It's similar to Drew. Like, if either one wakes up, there's going to be a lot of questions asked. I don't know. We'll see how that transpires, though. Christina and Ethan met up. I don't really care to talk about this. Brooklyn and Chase and the baby were there. Ethan was basically just letting Christina know about the problem with Rick getting on Sonny's bad side and all that crap that transpired last week. And then they went to go talk to Brooklyn and Chase and the baby, who are trying to get Alexis to help them get custody of baby Phoebe. The other main thing that happened was Jacinda and Michael meeting up because Michael has a big old plan that is to make it look like Chase and Willow are having an affair. A woman named Elaine had pictures taken of Chase and Willow together when they were together in Monday's episode in their little clothing when they were working out. But like, I want the real thing. I want a real hot affair between Willow and Chase. I'm sick of them having Chase stuck with boring Brooklyn. They are wasting Chase on Brooklyn. And I mean, we'll see what comes of Michael's plan, if that even works, if he could even make it seem like they're having an affair. But if that's all it's going to be and it's not going to be a real affair, it's going to be another cop-out. I feel like every storyline involving Brooklyn is a cop-out storyline because they want her to be a saint, so she couldn't have been the one to actually cause the accident, which would have actually made some drama in the crash storyline, but now it makes no sense. And I feel like they want to keep Chase and Brooklyn together, even though they are boring as shit, and they don't want to hurt Brooklyn. I don't know. I mean, Michael is going to extreme to hurt Brooklyn here because it could cost Brooklyn the baby, I guess, but I don't care about that adoption. Anyway, Willow showed up at the end, storming in when Michael and Jacinda were having a close moment, saying she needs a moment with Michael. But the pics of Chase and Willow were on the desk, and that was our cliffhanger. But I always look forward to Willow and Michael scenes, so maybe that will make for a better Thursday episode than the last two have been.